Hi pals! This week I wanted to try something a little bit different. So as you can see, I don't have just paints in front of me here. I've got my bullet journal. I've got my little stamping collection. It's an alphabet stamping collection and it's got some numbers and symbols as well. I've got a piece of Strathmore hot press watercolour, my Regina's watercolours, a Versamagic stamping pad, my Signo Uniball white gel pen, and a Faber-Castell Pitt artist pen. It doesn't tell me exactly what size it is, but I imagine it's probably about a 0.5. And finally, I also have my Coliro Finetec Pearlescent Metallic watercolors. This one has a lot of names. So anyway, today what I'm going to be doing is actually a bullet journal spread for the month of November. Now I know it's a couple of days late, but this is something that I decided to do on a whim because I was looking up some inspiration on YouTube and I found a video by Papery Thoughts, who I will link in the description box down below, and they did this really cool theme for November that I really liked and I wanted to give it a try. So please keep in mind while I do this video that everything that I do today is very heavily influenced by Papery Thoughts, but I'm going to put my own little spin on it, add a little bit of different elements and change things so that it is a little bit more my style and just how I use my bullet journal. So if bullet journaling is something you're interested in, if you just stick around, I'll get into it. If you haven't already, please remember to subscribe, like this video if you like it, and share it if you think it's worth sharing. Thanks so much, I'll get into it now. Today I am first going to paint a night sky and then I'm going to cut it up a little and I'll be using sections of it to put into the bullet journal as decorative elements. Now I considered painting directly onto the pages of this bullet journal because I have done that before. This is an Archer and Olive notebook and they are pretty sturdy, pretty good with dealing with watercolor and things like that, but I still do get a little bit of warping. I don't know if you can see those pages. That was from my April spread where I had done watercolor on just this page for the sky behind there, and you can see that it is a little bit warpy. So yeah, I wanted to avoid— oh, I've just stuck my entire fingernail in my green paint. Anyway, but I wanted to avoid the warping and I figure if I just paint this and I'll be able to glue it down and it'll just overall be a better experience. It might make the notebook more chunky, but that's fine. I don't mind the feel of a chunky sort of scrapbooky feeling notebook. So I'll put that aside for a second. I'm gonna go clean my nail and we'll get back into it. Just one sec. When I filmed this video, I filmed it with the intention of showing my entire process, so the fine lining of all the details and adding the lanterns at the end, which you will see, but I do have a flip through at the end. However, when I went through the process of uploading this footage onto my computer, I somehow managed to delete half of it. It was the last kind of stages of filming, and so I was pretty much okay with it because I realised that what I had left were the parts of the design that I had done differently from my inspiration, which was Papery Thoughts. So I decided to just run with this. I considered just trashing the whole video, but I thought, you know what, I've put a decent amount of work into this already and I want to go with it. Basically, the differences that I'm showing you here is that I used my watercolor paints to create this night sky, whereas the original creator used Tombow water-soluble markers and then used water to dissolve and blend out those colors so that they would create what looked like a night sky. I then went through with what you're seeing now, which is a white watercolor, and I tapped that onto the page.
You can also do a technique with this where you flick the brush that you're using, but I don't have an old toothbrush, which is what I would prefer to use because it gets a better spray, whereas with a normal paintbrush you don't get that spraying effect. And then I went through and just lifted a bit of the parts that were a little bit too translucent for me, and then I went over with another layer of silver from my Finetec watercolor palette. Once I'd done that, I went through with a white gel pen, which is another thing that the original creator did do. However, I only did it on top of what I'd already done there, and I used both of those other two techniques for different patterns of stars. I also added bigger stars and kind of shooting stars sort of thing, just by dragging the gel pen a little bit across the page.
What I have here is it's just basically like a discount guillotine. It still has the nice little markers so you can see that what you're cutting is straight. It still has a good blade in it. I'm just going to quickly measure out what I want to cut out of this night sky, and then we'll see how I'm going to incorporate it into the theme.
So this measuring process was actually a little bit more arduous than it looks here because I'm really, really bad at maths.
So I just quickly wrote down all my measurements on a scrap piece of paper, and I think I might need more than just this 5x7 inch little painting that I did. I might make another one. I will let you know if I get through the process and I need it, but apart from that, I'm going to start cutting this up now.
So even though I wrote down my measurements multiple times and actually used a combination of centimeters and inches, it still managed to take me a long time to figure out how to cut this, even though I knew what sizes I wanted, purely because I could not figure out how to use the measurements on the guillotine to actually get the sizes that I wanted. And you'll see here that I go back and flip the page over so that I can mark where I want to cut, even though I could have done that with the guillotine if I was even halfway decent at using it.
Okay, so here are all my little pieces of the night sky that I'm going to use for decorative purposes in this theme, and I did come up one little square short, so I will have to do another small painting. I'm trying to figure out how I can troubleshoot that without using a whole other piece of a 5x7, but I do have some offcuts that I might be able to use that I have cut off from previous paintings, and I do have these little bits and pieces left over, so maybe I can do something with these. I'm not sure yet. I'll show you what I have so far. So first off, I don't know how much you can see because of the grey lead. I don't know how visible it is, but here I have a quote page and just a title page. So I've got a quote here from one of my favourite books. It is the book Turtles All the Way Down by John Green, and it says, "Just be honest with Dr. Singh, okay? There's no need to suffer." Which I'd argue is just a fundamental misunderstanding of the human predicament, but okay. So that sounds like a really morbid quote, but I just really, really liked it to the point where I'd taken a photo of it, highlighted it, and put it on Instagram, and November is my birthday month, so I kind of wanted to just put a quote that I liked, and I just liked the use of language in this quote, so that's what my quote for November is. Not because I necessarily agree with it or endorse it, but just because I like the use of language. So I'm not trying to say anything by that, it's just a quote that I like. So anyway, initially I was going to put a whole rectangle under this and then paste some paper over top, but I thought that would be a little bit too much of a waste of paper. So I just pop on a frame and then I can paste that down. I might cut off these edges so that they're not overlapping. And then I've got this piece that will fit in here. So that fits, that's good. Next page. This is a calendar page. I just wanted to have the top of the calendar. Bloody engines. This is why I don't try to do videos like this. But I just wanted to have the top of the calendar decorated like that, and then I might just stamp in the days of the week up the top. And then we have habit tracker, so I don't need anything for that part, but I was going to use this bit for here for the mood tracker. So this is going to be the mood tracker, this is going to be the habit tracker. I'm going to make these little rectangles, you'll see. And then finally, we have one more bit that I couldn't quite fill. So I wonder if it would be worth just sort of piecing these together somehow. Just to have a weird random assortment. I think I like that. Okay, cool. Let's get to sticking down. It's actually really quite good, this glue. And here I make a massive mistake because somehow, even after all that measuring, they don't line up. So I had to troubleshoot that by adding this extra little piece. And I just pretended like I did it on purpose because, you know, half of bullet journaling for me is solving the errors that I make. This last page looks a little bit different than when I did the mock-up as well because I ended up using that longer piece to fix my first mistake. And then I'm just going through and writing in my quote. It didn't turn out exactly how I would have liked. I really don't like my handwriting most of the time. Even though typically speaking, if I do like a little, like if I just do one word or if I write happy birthday or whatever, I'm usually pretty happy with that. But when I do a full paragraph or something like that, I'll like particular words but not all of it, and that's the case here. I just think that it looks not uniform, but the part that I do like about this is the stamps that I used at the end to write out okay. I think that looks really cool, and I kind of wish that I had done that for all of it. Now the last part of the process that you're going to see is me writing out this November calligraphy for the title page, and again, not super happy with it. I went over it again and made it thicker, and I think it looks stupid and I wish I had stamped it. But anyway, that's everything, and now I'm going to show you the final flip through. So I added some lanterns, just like the inspiration, and if you're interested in how to do that, you can either look up references obviously, or you can find the video that I linked down below of the original by Papery Thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week, probably with a painting rather than a bullet journal spread. Bye pals!